Welcome to NxGen Leaders, where we talk with the leaders who are working towards sustainability. And today I'm here with Floor Buitelaar. She is the founder of Bright Green Partners and FoodTech Experts. And it's great to have you here, Floor. To
Yeah,
start,
thank you.
could you tell us about your journey, about your professional journey, how you started Bright Green Partners and then Food Tech Experts, and how are you managing both the two together?
Of course. So we started Brighton Partners back in 2020 in the midst of COVID, which feels like a very long time ago by now.
Yes.
Before that, I used to work in food retail in the Netherlands, where I'm also based. I live here in Amsterdam. And
Okay.
my family has been in food retail over the last 100 years. So literally, like at the kitchen table of my family, we discussed a lot about food and the dynamics in retail and commercialization of food and some of the
Mhm.
issues in the food industry. So that's how I personally rolled from a very young age into this food dynamics, and where also my mission to make the food system more sustainable, healthier, but still affordable for all.
Mhm.
Yeah, basically where that came from. And back in 2020, I met my former two co-founders, where I started Bright Green Partners with. So
Mhm.
that's when we started that. But then we realized also over time that it's nice to have like a strategy consultancy and to help big corporates and investors, because that's what we do at Bright Green Partners, just only in agri-food tech. But that there are so many others who need quick support along the way. And that's why we
Mhm.
started back in now 2025. So half a year ago, we started also Food Tech Experts. But I'm sure we're gonna
Okay.
dive more into that in a bit.
Mhm. Okay. So, whenever I talk with food tech experts or anyone, they talk about this affordability. Like we have a lot of innovations in these area in food. Like we have a lot of alternatives as well. So, what do you think are some problems that we still have, or let's say barrier or hurdles we still have to make it affordable to people? Like if we are making an alternative, how we can make it affordable as compared to the like real, let's say, meat or something.
I think affordability is not just a problem in alternatives or new products, it's even a
Hmm.
problem in current products that are out there on the market and have been for so long, just
Hmm.
because supply chains are really under pressure at the moment. There's a lot of pressure on volumes being available. There's so many
Yes.
people on the planet right now. Like our whole system is basically under pressure. And for
Hmm.
some products that or ingredients that just becomes way more visible since COVID roughly and the
Yes.
Ukraine war.
Hmm.
So I wouldn't say it's only a topic for alternatives, but of course, an alternative ingredient in the end has the intention to replace a product that's currently in high volume and very
Hmm.
affordable on the market. So there it's even more of a topic because you come in with something completely new that's not
Hmm.
well researched and developed, and that all of a sudden, in order to scale that, needs to come to a certain price level. And that doesn't happen overnight. So that's why
Yes.
in the food tech and ag tech domain, that is oftentimes a
Hmm.
problem. So yeah, you need to build a business case around that. You need to show where it can go to so that people believe,
Hmm.
want to invest, and therefore can make that happen.
Okay. So you went from startup idea to making the Forbes 30 under 30. So what was the biggest internal turning point in your journey with Bright Green Partners?
Well, we had a lot of those. Um, but I would say to get to the Forbes 30 under 30 list,
Hmm.
actually, we had tailwind from the start. Like we had a rocket ship start with Brighton Partners. Our first
Hmm.
client was Kraft Heinz. And from that start, you attract way more of such clients. Like we work for a lot of the big global corporates, we work for really big investors. So that kickstart back in the days in 2020 really helped to get into the list later on.
Hmm.
But I would say also like to be acknowledged in the list of Forbes 30 under 30, it also took something from me to stand up for my leadership and what we represent and to become
Hmm.
more visible. So there's the business aspect, which I told you, like that went from the start and it just continued the first years very well, where we could tap into a market opportunity. But
Hmm.
really to stand for something and really to show the leadership you bring into the industry, into the team that I lead. I would say those two combinations really enabled that Yeah,
Okay.
I got recognized into the list.
Okay. And if you talk about your other business, food tech experts, you have uh, a network of more than 2,500 plus. So how do you make sure that you are engaging the right voice to drive like measurable impact?
Yeah, we talked earlier also about in the preparation on like trends, right, or hypes in the industry related to that. And like
Mhm.
so with the experts, in the end, we talk with experts or our clients talk with experts when there's a need from a client side. So we work
Mhm.
industry-led, so to say, or client-led. So we don't push topics out there into the industry. We're not here to create hypes or just some waves of interest. No, we actually want to help on topics that people want to bring further. So
Mhm.
that's a really important aspect of our clients have a need, and we serve that either with connecting them to the right experts via our FoodTech Experts network
Mhm.
or through our own internal work at Brightkin Partners. Now, of course, sometimes that might come from a hype-driven decision by our clients. And
Mhm.
then it's also up to us or the expert to help them understand if it is a hype or where does this sit, what's the real scalability, economic viability of this technology solution ingredient startup that they're looking into. That is why they
Mhm.
come to us, because they really want to understand what it is, where it sits, what they should do with it. Um, so that's the one part we're client-led. So therefore, yes, sometimes we do write hypes or trends, and we
Mhm.
help the client understand what to do. The second part is that, of course, as a strategic partner for many of our clients and in general industry contexts, we do help them on like key things to watch or companies that we think should be on their radar. We try not to be hype that there, but of course, if a lot of companies are looking into a certain topic,
Mhm.
then and other some of our clients are not, then we do bring it to their attention, and then it might become a hype, not because of us, but because the whole industry is looking into that topic at the moment, and therefore it gets a lot of
Mhm.
innovation, investment, and it should be on the radar of our clients. So I would say a hype is also not per se a bad thing.
Uh, when legacy food companies enter the sustainability space, so when is it smarter to build capabilities in-house versus partnering or acquiring?
That is not an easy question to answer. So usually
Okay.
we put that across a whole like strategic project because it
Mm-hmm.
really depends. Like to answer your question, it really depends on who is this client, what capabilities do they have internally, where does the legacy sit,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, what do they want to do? If they
Mm-hmm.
all of a sudden want to do something completely outside of their core game,
Mm-hmm.
then well, better to partner up with someone else who can complement or overcome that gap, or to acquire someone who has that expertise so you bring that internally. But
Mm-hmm.
then usually it will take a long timeline and a lot of investment if they want to build from scratch internally. So those are kind of like the decisions and the thinking, Sadiq, that we help clients on
Mm-hmm.
to help them understand what they can do. And it all depends on budgets they have, ambitions, timelines,
Mm-hmm.
like what do they need to prove, and then again their background in a certain area, or no background in that area yet.
Okay. And you have suggested shifting the phrase from alternative protein to complementary proteins. So why does that change of language matter for the food system? If you know.
Yeah, and just to clarify, that's not a term I came up from, right?
Mm-hmm.
Robert Jones, who used to lead the regulatory and I think public affairs at Mozambique in the Netherlands, I think he came up with this terminology. And I would say there's a big difference between industry and consumer-facing language. We used to have the same language. So we used to talk in the industry about alternative proteins and then also call this to consumers like alternative meat or plant-based meat or alternative proteins, whatever we call it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that worked a little bit when consumers were very interested into reducing their consumption of meat or dairy. Right now, that doesn't work because there's very little interest in that at the moment. Consumers are just focused on their own problems financial struggles and just making ends meet, sorry.
Mhm.
So with that, alternative proteins and the whole just like separation of, oh, there's animal meat and then there's alternative proteins, it doesn't work. So we need to get consumers on board with the thinking again of that, hey, it's okay if you swap something a day a week because that's a good choice you're making. We need to make it
Mhm.
more as an involvement, as something they want to be part of instead of the industry going after them, like being a teacher or saying that, no, this is not good, you should eat less meat. That doesn't work. People get only very,
Yes.
yeah, angry or upset with this approach. And therefore, I like the terminology of complementary proteins,
Mhm.
where just a part of the whole diet.
Okay. There is one question that I ask with everybody. If like you are into food, if you have to start, let's say, a startup working in food, and you have to solve a problem. So, what problem are you like interested in, or what innovation do you like the most? In which area do you like to start your own thing?
Yeah, and the honest answer there is that I am personally not the person who would start a food company
Mm-hmm.
on just one topic. I'm just not the right person for that because
Okay.
I love having this helicopter view. I love helping people. Like
Mm-hmm.
I'm the advisor type. So to start for me, all of a sudden, a company that's just focused on, let's say, one ingredient on one product,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I would get pretty bored also personally.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yes.
having said that, like that's from a personal perspective, there are so many needs in the food industry.
Yes.
Like literally, you
Mm-hmm.
can go from niche ingredients like
Mm-hmm.
stabilizers, colorants, you name it,
Mm-hmm.
to bulk commodity ingredients like proteins, or right now there's a lot happening in coffee and cacao. You can have technologies and
Yes.
equipment. It all needs massive upgrades to feed the world over the coming decades and the coming centuries. And that's why I just
Mm-hmm.
love what we do at Brighton Partners and FoodTech Experts, because we're focused on this domain, but we have quite a lot of variability in the topics that we see across.
Mm-hmm.
However, there's one like simple thing that I like always love, and that's aquafaba. I'm just
Mm-hmm.
fascinated by that. It's a waste product. Literally, if I open the tin of chickpeas here in my home, and then you usually tend to throw away the aquafaba, the water from the
Okay.
chickpeas, you can make a lot of cool things from that. Let's say you can use
Okay.
it in desserts, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's not something I would start a company on, but I'm just fascinated by the potential of that waste
Mm-hmm.
product. How simple it is for people to use it in their
Mm-hmm.
own kitchen, for example.
Okay. So you like to be in the position where you can help like all of that at once, not focusing on single thing. Like,
Yeah, and to enable people. Like I'm not the one
mm-hmm.
who would
Yes.
sell, for example, this new ingredient. I love enabling others and
Yes.
inspiring to do it differently.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I really love the impact that we make on like global players like big corporates, NGOs, banks, investors that we can help,
Mm-hmm.
because it's not just about cool startups having great ideas and
Yes.
scaling that up. It's also about like the system that we have right now just relies a lot on those massive corporations and getting
Mm-hmm.
them on board and keeping them on board to really make change happen. That's where a lot of the volume, the scale, and the impact comes from. And yeah, therefore, both sides of the table are just equally important. We need disruption and we need big companies to transform over time. And then we get actually a lot of impact together.
Mm-hmm. Okay. If you talk about upcycling food waste into functional ingredient, like is a huge opportunity. So what are the biggest hurdles company face when scaling those circular economy, like circular models?
Yeah, I would say it depends a bit on where you sit in the value chain, because there are like in their input of upcycling, there are difficulties, and then in the output, there are difficulties. So, what I mean by that is input is, so to say, the waste stream that you're going to use to recreate it into something, being the output. So with the input part, you need a lot of stability in your waste streams. And that's all where it's usually tend to be a waste stream, or it's not treated as a very valuable product or ingredient. And therefore it's quite hard to treat and to create a stable output. So that's a difficulty in terms of like the infrastructure, the transport to another factory potentially to upcycle this waste stream. Yeah, just to get people to think about it also as a valuable output, because it's always when being brought to feed or biogas solutions, like it wasn't that valuable to them. So now all of a sudden got to treat that differently in the mindset, even of people, is already where difficulty sits. And then it's about like the output. So how are you actually going to make from a waste stream, the input, something valuable that can be actually transformed into that? So which technology are you going to use? And then it's about the whole economic model of that as well. Like if you're going to do too much with it, maybe you're going to put so much complexity and therefore cost into it that what you're going to create is not going to be delivering any return on investment into that, because the cost went in, even though it's a cheap ingredient, will not make up for what you're actually going to earn on it. So I think that's a difficult point what companies are struggling with at the moment. They want to do something, but the transformation is quite technically complex in some cases, and then the return that you can make on it is actually not that viable. Again, it comes down to like we're in this transition where now finally companies start to treat waste differently, and one because of sustainability targets and economic pressure. So they're really looking at what they have internally and how can they actually make that better. But we're still in like the early stages of this, where companies are exploring and some are further than others, but where this whole input to output value chain needs to be optimized basically. And that will take, again, years to do that.
Yeah.
That's a struggle you have to deal with at
Yes.
the moment.
Price and taste parity like remain major barriers. So, which recent B2B innovations are genuinely making sustainable options more affordable and better tasting?
I would say that has also changed a bit over the last years, especially now that companies, I would say since 2023 roughly, really have to focus on their cost structure because of, well, how the whole world has changed over the last years. And therefore, people are not just trying to, like, and when I speak of people, it's big companies within those organizations who have to lead innovation or commercial viability. It's not just about finding the next cool thing. It's really about like, we have some big problems in our organization. Let's take commodity prices that really went up. Let's look, for example, at cacao and coffee, what happened there, eggs, beef prices. So if you look at traditional ingredients, where those organizations have really a hard time keeping prices to at least where they are, or not let them rise too far. And that's where alternative or new ingredients can really play a big role. If you can all of a sudden blend that into their current supply chain, and this is a really important part. It's not just about taste and price, it's about how do you enable actually a new ingredient or solution or equipment to fit into an existing supply chain, and you can make it economically work. That's gold. Then you really have a good solution, and because that's where you can have really like short-term impact over the next coming years. And that's where a lot of our clients are looking into, because I said they have price and volume problems. So if you have a solution that can help them, and no matter if it's plant-based or another source, even better. If it's also more sustainable, that's just win-win-win, and what a lot of our clients would love to see more.
Yeah. Beyond proteins and trends like AI-driven precision agriculture, which under the radar technology are you most excited about?
Yeah, I would say back again to, it's not just one
Yes.
solution at the moment. It's about what actually does economically and time-wise work over the next years? I mean, yes, of course, there's now AI product development where a lot of companies are looking into and R&D to really accelerate also their time to market with certain innovations. Over the next coming years, that's going to really, especially if you take a decade, that's going to really accelerate how we bring innovations way quicker to market and can take away a lot of the hurdles and tests and the lengthiness of that along the way. But then again, if we look at, we can't just wait all the time till we have a great innovation that comes out in 5 or 10 years. We have big problems today already. And that's why I'm just fascinated by, for example, some of the big cacao companies right now partnering up with startups in cultured cacao or alternatives in from plant-based ingredients that can recreate the taste of cacao. Great, that's a solution where both parties win. Let's make that happen tomorrow because that's actually way more feasible. So that's why I keep on coming back. What's economically viable? What can be done quicker? And yes, you always have those big bets also on the longer term of all sorts of cool innovations. There are long, long, long lists, and we just made a report about 10 of those trends also for 2026. But yeah, what actually works also in the near future.
Okay. Bright Green Partners have completed 5 years, I guess. It has started in
2020.
Okay, 2020. Okay. So it has completed 5 years. So how are you evolving the services to make deep industry insights accessible to companies with limited budgets?
Yeah, and I would say the answer to that is FoodTech Experts. That's why we launched that last year. And we were finally able to do so because our network that we've always used internally, like the FoodTech Experts network of 2,500 people, we built that just from day one in Bright Green Partners to serve our own projects for our clients. So we always use the experts ourselves. But then it got to actually a size of the network that could start helping others as well. Not just only in our projects, it could be our clients that want to go into implementation and need a practical expert along the way. But we start to get also reach out from other companies that were not per se our clients, and they just needed a good expert, where they knew that it would be a trustworthy and a great expert that could really help them. And we've been working with so many of them that we actually knew who was good in this and that person's good at that. And that's why we launched last year also the FoodTech Experts brand, where it's all about we just connect people to each other and we take a small margin on that. But it's a whole different game in terms of price level, in terms of practicalities, in terms of just really having someone very quickly, just an advisor by your side, can guide you in the right direction in sometimes even an hour versus the bigger project that we do at Bright Green Partners. So, but I always have a lot of ideas, Sadiq, so I always keep a long list of ideas, what I would like to do to help the industry further from all the conversations I have and my team has with our clients. We're also a small team, so we don't have unlimited time or budgets to do that. So we just try to stay as focused as possible to really help on important areas. So yeah, keep an eye out, I would say, to Bright Green Partners and FoodTech Experts. There will be more and more coming in the near future.
From working with the startups and Fortune 500s, what's the single most important piece of advice you would give to founder trying to drive real change in agri-food tech?
Yeah, maybe this is a bit of a different answer than what you're hoping to hear, but given this is also the NxGen Leaders podcast, I would say, again, you can have the smartest idea of the world that's really going to revolutionize something in the food value chain. If you don't take care of yourself, you're not going to bring it to success. And I've experienced this, we've had amazing success in Bright Green Partners and also FoodTech Experts, but we've also had really tough years because of various reasons, like just stress or conflicts internally or whatever it might have been. And I've lost myself sometimes in that process. I've had times where my energy was just so low. There's not much to give then, right? And all the challenges that we have now and over the next decades in food, feeding 10 billion people over the next decades to come.
Mhm.
We need people and their energy on the long term and not just over the next few years where you really bring something cool into the market. It has to succeed not just today, not just next year. It has to still be viable in 2040, in 2050. And therefore, I can
Mhm.
only encourage founders to actually take care of themselves and their team so that everyone
Mhm.
comes with energy, inspiration, and like a let's make this happen mentality to
Mhm.
work, because that's going to bring us so much further than just, oh, I launched something, we're gonna make some quick wins over the next 2 years, and then I'm just done in a burnout and I need to take care of myself first. That's not how we're going to transform the food system. So that's my number one piece of advice. Take care of yourself, and then we can take care of each other also.
Mhm. Okay. And where do you sell like 5 to 10? If we talk about 5 to 10 years from now, with Bright Green Partners and the food tech experts. So where do you see these two and yourself?
And I would say that's also a bit where now the change comes in, that I was Bright Green Partners over the last years. Like that was mostly my identity also. And now that
Mhm.
we've launched FoodTech Experts and now that I started taking care of myself also, that has split a bit. So
Mhm.
with Bright Green Partners, it's very much like we love helping clients who are really ready to take their food system innovation and acceleration further. So we don't take on many clients there. Usually we do 10 projects a year. And in at
Mhm.
least the next few years to come, that will roughly stay that way. We're very boutique. We love working really with clients who are ready to really hammer down on their innovation or commercialization. So that will
Mhm.
stay smaller. With FoodTech Experts, there we are pretty ambitious, I would say, in terms of like getting a lot of more experts on the platform and
Mhm.
helping clients. And we would love to help way more companies in the food industry to connect with the right expertise, because we see how impactful it is just to like speak with one expert. It doesn't have to cost much, and
Mhm.
how quickly you can then do something or make a
Mhm.
decision or make something happen based on just that one single expert that you spoke with,
Yes.
versus that you have to go through long strategy projects. Of course, depends on where they sit. But to answer your question, then with food tech experts, we're really ambitious in terms of like getting more clients into it, getting
Mhm.
a proper interface in place, and then making the experts happy because we bring so much work to them. That's what
Mhm. Yes.
we talk about, win-win-win all the time. Um, yeah, and plenty of ideas to make that happen. That's what we're working on at the moment, and where I personally also love to bring my energy in. And then lastly,
Mhm.
this topic of like founder resilience and in general like people in the workforce and taking care of themselves is a topic that got to be quite close to my heart, because I've seen how much of a difference it is when you feel good versus when you
Mhm.
don't feel good. So
Yes.
that's where I would love to spend more of my time personally on to help others with that. And I'm currently thinking a lot about how to make that happen. So for people
Mhm.
who are interested in that, keep an eye out on my LinkedIn. I will be sharing more and more over the coming months of how I will help others to succeed in that too. Because only then
Mhm.
we will have sustainable success, no matter if it's in food or in other critical sectors needed.
Okay. Yes. This expert thing, it like I believe it helps a lot because as a founder or as a CEO, you cannot do all by yourself. And if you try to do it, will take a lot of time. You cannot focus on the main thing that you are trying to do. So it is very helpful if you let's say a problem that will take maybe a day or two, an expert might be able to solve in an hour. So that's a
Exactly.
very good thing.
Exactly.
Okay, okay, Flo, it was great talking to you. So I will share this with my connections and I will let you know when I'm about to share it. It is great talking to you.
Thank you, Sadiq. Thanks. It was a pleasure.